All right. Unions could still strike. Don't let the Supreme Court tell you otherwise. The Supreme Court decision in Glacier Northwest versus Teamsters Local 174 is outrageous, valuing property over workers' rights, but it could have been much worse. It seems like that's the theme for our most recent craziness that's been happening in our politics. It's like, hey, slavery is still illegal, so yeah, it could be worse. It could be worse. Like, Jesus Christ. Shit is like getting so bad to where we're like, we just got to think of like, what did they really want to do? And if they didn't get to do that, then we get to go, it could be worse. Unions still, this is the key right here. Unions still have the right to strike. Employers still can't generally sue unions in state court for losses caused by strikes. But the decision does open the door to whittling away those rights more in the future. The practical impact of the court's decision is that employers will be suing unions more often for alleged property damage caused by strikes, and that therefore unions are likely to be more cautious. So if you are in an industry where you are planning to strike, you just have to take way greater care to make sure that your strike does not result in damaged equipment, right? Like if you are in some sort of like industrial factory, right? And if you don't turn off the hydraulics over, in a certain amount of time like you're supposed to, then shit explodes or piston seize up or something like that. If you're like, all right, everyone at 1 p.m., we're walking out this bitch, you know what I mean? And all the people who are responsible for this hypothetical hydraulic system goes, yeah, we're out. 1 o'clock, boom, everybody walks out. And then all of a sudden, like the shit that was supposed to be turned off or was supposed to be shut down correctly seizes up. Well, this Supreme Court ruling says that you can be sued for that, for the property damages that happen. So make sure shit is shut down correctly. Make sure shit is not breaking, and that things are set up in a way to go. It's just to protect yourself. Not that I think that it's right. The court did not do what many had feared it would do in this case: overrule longstanding precedent that employers generally cannot sue unions in state court over activities like strikes. Instead, it found that this case fell under an already existing exception for intentional damage to employer property or failure to take reasonable precautions to prevent such damage. Workers and unions are right to be furious at this ruling, but we should be careful not to sensationalize or overstate it. And we'll end right here. Check this out. Which could do more damage to the right to strike than the ruling itself does by making workers scared to exercise it. That's a good point right there. So like this is why like only reading headlines or getting all like me. I'm a fan of being a doomer. I get it. Sometimes the sky is falling and then it's not. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, if people all of a sudden believed that, oh, did you hear about this latest thing? And now you can be sued if you go on a strike. I'm not trying to get sued. Maybe striking is one thing. I have savings up for that, or we have mutual aid, but I'm not trying to, become homeless and lose everything over it. American workers must remember that their right to strike has not been taken away, said Teamsters President Sean O'Brien in response to the ruling. All workers, union and non-union alike, will forever have the right to withhold their labor. His statement went on, the Teamsters will strike any employer when necessary, no matter their size or the depth of their pockets. Unions will never be broken by this court or any other. Today's shameful ruling is simply one more reminder that the American people cannot rely on their government or their courts to protect them. They cannot rely on their employers. We must rely on each other. We must engage in organized collective action. We can only rely on the protections inherent in the power of our unions. I like it. Oh, I didn't see this one. You know what? This is going to be the magic of editing. Y'all right here are going to know the truth, but I wanted to watch this right after we talked about how the SCOTUS ruling on strikes and corporations being able to sue is not the end of the world. And then I was going to walk right into this, and you're all going to be like, these things were like an hour apart because he totally forgot. And we're going to watch it right now. So on second thought, I decided not to show the video. While we did watch it on Twitch together, I don't feel I provided enough commentary to warrant a upload without, getting into to intellectual property type stuff. I will have a link down in the description, and it should pop up on your screen right now. The UPS strike is extremely important, and I suggest you look up, read up on it, or watch the video that we watched together on Twitch. But here is what I had to say when we were done watching. So, I mean, look, I know how we all feel when it comes to boycotts and whatever else, but I will say this much. Not everybody can go out there and do direct action. Not everybody can go out there and get involved. You know, some of you all are working 40 plus hours a week just trying to put food on the table. And so asking to go out there and march with them and do things that like direct action, I think is a little silly and kind of privilege minded, right? But what you can do, what about the lesbians? I get that reference because I get it. What you can do is when you know, this is where solidarity comes in, right? This is where the average individual, the average individual, you don't have to be black bloc. You don't have to put on a mask and throw Molotov cocktails. When you know of a strike going on, I would say it is your ethical, it is your responsibility. If you're going to pretend to give not pretend, unless you're pretending to be progressive, unless you're pretending to give a shit about your fellow man and be a pragmatic humanist, make sure that you are aware of the strikes happening and do your best to just, circumvent that. When UPS goes on strike, make sure that you're not using UPS. If Amazon workers are on strike, maybe just take a little break from ordering from Amazon for a little bit. I can say I'm not as good as that as I should be, but it's something that I definitely want to pay closer attention to. Kellogg's workers are on strike. Just pick different cereal for a little bit if cereal is your thing. It's super easy to do, and it just takes no time at all. All right, moving on. Oh, no.